Good morning, artists. For today's project, we're going to be creating a radial design, kind of like the one that you see here. You're going to need crayons, specifically a black crayon. If you don't have a black crayon, I would just stick with pencil. Markers and colored pencils, unfortunately, are not going to work for this project. You're going to need a pencil and a scissor. And you're also going to need a pen and a piece of paper. To begin, we need to start to make this rectangle paper into a square. So I'm going to take this corner and fold it to this side, making sure that this edge is nice and lined up flat. Then I'm going to press down in the center and walk my finger out to create the seam and down. So just by folding this piece of paper, this side is going to turn into a square. So take your pencil and draw a straight line right where the paper is folded down. So draw nice and lightly, just a straight line using your paper as a guide. Unfold that, and then you're going to take your scissors and you're going to cut right on this straight line. By doing this, we've just turned our rectangle paper into a square, which is what we need for our project today. So you don't need this scrap paper. You can go ahead and throw that out or recycle it. Now we're going to find the center point of our square. So we're going to do two folds. You're going to fold it in half one way, making sure those edges are nice and lined up, pressing down in the center and smoothing out that fold, opening it back up, and you're going to fold it the opposite way. And I'm going to turn my paper. But you're folding, it's going to be like a cross inside. Lining it up, pressing it down, and opening it back up when you're done. Now, right in that center, that is going to be our central point that our design radiates from. So if you take a look at this example, their center point is right here, and the designs radiate from the center. So we're going to create 1/4 of our design, like this one here, and rotate it to create each part of our radial design. So to begin, take your black crayon. Again, if you don't have a black crayon, any other color would be fine. If you don't have crayons, just use a regular pencil. And you're going to start by creating lines and shapes. So the elements of art that we're going to be focused on today are lines and shapes. So maybe from the central point, I'm going to draw a nice zigzag line. And notice how when I draw, I am going back and forth and making really, really nice, bold designs. Do some shapes. Go back and forth over those lines, make them nice and black. You'll see why in a second. But the shapes that I'm using don't need to have names, I'm sorry. They can be any shapes, organic shapes, geometric shapes, any shapes that you want to use to make your design interesting. Also, if you start a shape and don't finish it on the ends of your design, you'll see when we finish or when we keep going, how those actually will form new shapes. So fill up your whole design, making sure you're going back and forth over the colors, over the lines that you're making to make them nice and bold. I'm going to do another one right here and another one right here. My design is pretty simple just to keep this video short, but you can make your design as intricate as you want. Now, we're going to create the next part of our radial design. Fold your paper in half either way. And I'm going to use a pen that does not have the tip out, or you can use a popsicle stick or the back of a pencil or even your fingernail. And you can see that you can see the design through the paper. So what you're going to do, like I said, I'm just using a pen that does not have the tip out. You can use a popsicle stick, the back of a pencil, your fingernail. And I am going to go over all of the lines that I drew, that I can see through my paper. So I'm actually pressing on the lines of my design. And make sure that you get all the lines that you drew. You don't want to miss any part of your beautiful designs. I'm just going to take some time going back and forth, just like you made those lines really bold by going back and forth. Use whatever you're using, pen, pencil, whatever you're using to press down this design. Make sure you go back and forth a few times. Now that I have my whole design all pressed out, I'm going to open my paper, and you can see that the crayon was actually rubbed onto the other side of my design. So this is how we're going to create the symmetry, the radial symmetry that our project is based on. So with the rubbing, you can see that the lines on this side are not as bold as the lines on this side. So I'm going to take my time now, and just the way I made my lines nice and bold the first time, I am going to go back and forth over all of my lines. You're also, again, going to go over your original drawing too. So even though those lines still look nice and black, when you rub the design onto the other side, you rubbed most of the extra crayon off. So you're going to have to go back and go over your entire design. So I actually have one here that's done. So I created this corner here. I folded it over. I rubbed my design. I opened it back up, and I outlined again all of the things that I drew, making my lines nice and bold. Now you're going to fold it in half one more time. And you're going to use that same pen or whatever you were using before. And you're going to rub the design one more time. Last time you only had to rub one section to transfer it. Now you have to rub both sides. And make sure that you are really going back and forth over every shape that you drew. The harder you press, the more crayon is going to transfer to the other side of the paper, making it a lot easier when you want to go back and make those lines nice and bold again. So you can pause the video here and make sure that you go over both sides of your design, one on each side. I'm just going to speed it up a little bit. And when you're done, when you go over everything, you're going to have the same thing right here. Now, just like we did before, you're going to take that black crayon and you're going to outline all of those lines again, making them nice and bold. So you can see that black really works great for this project, but any other color of crayon would be fine. I would stay away from the yellow because it's going to be kind of hard to see that yellow transfer of the crayon. Once you have your design totally done, your beautiful radial design, now you can take some crayons and color it any way you want. So I tend to do the same shapes that are on each side, the same color. That kind of helps with the radial design and tricking your eye into seeing the rotational symmetry. But if you wanted to make it extra special, you can do each shape a different color. Coloring with crayons would probably be the best because that's what our lines are made of. But at this point, if you had color pencils, you could use color pencils now. I don't think that I would use markers still. Markers and crayons usually don't mix too well, so I would just stick with the crayons or color pencils. So that's it, guys. I don't want to take too much time drawing this or coloring this in. I can't wait to see what you guys did and enjoy doing this project. Can't wait to see what you guys created. Bye, guys.